In this video, I'm going to be talking about 4 different ingredient combinations that you probably want to avoid when you're making your own DIY cleansers. One of these combinations you'll definitely want to avoid because you're going to create something kind of hazardous that you don't want around your home. 2 of these combos you could do, but it's going to be a waste of your money because it's going to make your ingredients ineffective as cleansers. And the last one is perfectly fine to do, but if you're going to end up storing this combo in a cleanser, you might end up with some difficulties. So let's get into it, shall we? So I have combo number 1 that you definitely want to avoid, and that is hydrogen peroxide and white vinegar. So what you're going to end up creating if you combine these in a cleanser is something called peracetic acid. This acid is corrosive, and even though you know it's not the worst of the worst, it can cause skin irritations and other possibly respiratory issues as well. So just don't put them together in the same cleanser. Both vinegar and hydrogen peroxide are quite disinfecting, so you could choose to use one or the other in your cleanser, or if you want the superpowers of both, just use them back to back. So use one, rinse well, and then use the other, and you will be safe. The second combo you probably want to avoid, we are all very familiar with. We've probably all made a volcano with these 2 ingredients, and I see them actually quite often in DIY cleanser recipes. So the first ingredient is baking soda, and then you can probably guess what the second one is. That's vinegar. So I actually did this yesterday in an experiment in a science field trip with school kids at the museum. So what happens when you combine these 2, the acidic vinegar and the base of the baking soda, combine to create a couple of new things. First of all, we're all aware of the fizzy reaction that occurs, so it's creating carbon dioxide. There is a little bit of cleansing power that comes with that reaction, but as we know, it's pretty short-lived. So what you're left with, that sort of watery, slightly creamy solution, is called sodium acetate. It's basically salt water, and it doesn't do anything at this point. It doesn't have any of the cleansing properties of the vinegar or the baking soda. So you might want to rethink using these 2 ingredients together if you want a very effective cleanser. The next combination that you probably want to avoid, because you are going to null out any benefits of these 2 ingredients, is our Castile soap and our vinegar. So what happens when you put these 2 ingredients together? It's a very similar reaction to the baking soda and the vinegar. It's a very similar So what happens when you put these 2 ingredients together? Something very similar happens as when you combine the vinegar and the baking soda. The acid reacts to the base, which is the Castile soap. It turns the Castile soap back into unsaponified soap, which is basically its original oils. You end up with a sort of curdled, gooey, oily mess, and the soap is not soap anymore. It's actually not cleaning anymore. So again, you can just use these ingredients one after the other, maybe do a little rinse in between, and just don't combine them in the same product. Our last ingredient combo is actually perfectly safe to do if you're using it right away. So we have hydrogen peroxide and we have baking soda. So these 2 ingredients are great together, but what happens if you put it in a container and then you seal that container and you don't use the cleanser for a while is the combination of these 2 ingredients creates carbon dioxide and oxygen. And if your container is sealed and enough pressure builds up inside that container, you could find yourself with a very unfortunate explosion in your cupboard. So just be cautious about that. Maybe keep it cracked open, or open it every so often to off gas, and then it'll be okay. Or just mix whatever you need on any given day and it's perfectly fine. So when you're making your own household cleansers, it's always great to take different ideas from different recipes and combine them for whatever you need to do in your home. But with these 4 tips to keep in mind, you should avoid explosions and hazardous acids and cleaning ingredients that they don't do anything. So enjoy your experimentation and happy cleaning.